So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Kaduki back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, April 28th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Wednesday, April 28th. We are now 1 day away from the 2021 NFL Draft. Tomorrow is in fact the start of the NFL Draft. Tomorrow is the first round, so super exciting there. A lot of stuff surrounding the NFL Draft, a lot of stuff surrounding what our team's going to do. Some of the biggest questions in the draft, what is going to happen, has been really the talk of, I would say, the NFL, and I mean, arguably the talk of sports has been the NFL Draft, and obviously every time, whenever we get around this year, around this time of year, April, you get to March, April, May, that's when you start to, really get into the NFL Draft, get into the young players, the prospects, what teams, as teams start to really shape up their rosters for the upcoming 2021-2022 NFL season. So hopefully it's a good draft. Hopefully there's a lot of action. Like I mentioned yesterday, I'm hoping that obviously, the Jets make the moves that they, obviously I'm hoping the Jets make the right moves. That's all I'm asking for. That's all I want. And if that's the case, I'll feel good about that. I will definitely feel good if the Jets make, the good moves, make the solid decisions and things like that, because there's been a lot of decisions the Jets have made, not just in the NFL Draft, but throughout the entire, in every decision making, they've seemed to always messed up on something. But now, especially in the draft, they've definitely made some interesting decisions throughout the draft, throughout their history. So definitely good that there is going to be a good opportunity that the Jets make the right decision this year with Joe Douglas and stuff like that. So hopefully they do. So the NFL Draft tomorrow, super exciting. To recap last night in sports, in the New York sports, the Yankees got a win. And that was good. It was a good win. 5-1. It was a good win. I was happy about it, but I mean, still, I'm not satisfied with a 10-13 record. We've got to find a way to consistently start and win games here. And, obviously we lost the first game against Baltimore. We won yesterday. We got a game today and then a game tomorrow. I mean, come on, you should at least take 3 here. I mean, there's no way you lose tonight and then tomorrow you got to battle to try to split the series. And then you obviously head home to play the Tigers, which is a golden opportunity also to gain ground and start to get on a little bit of a roll. So, the schedule has worked out for the Yankees here recently. We obviously got off to the terrible start. We're still not playing our best baseball. But then we had the Indians. We beat them 3-4. Now we have the Orioles. And then we have the Tigers. Those are opportunities to just, that's just they talk about those games out there in every sport. You'll always circle those 1 to 2 games, 3 games on your schedule. If that's in the NFL, it's about 1 to 3 games. In the NBA, it could be anywhere up to 15, 20. In the NHL, same thing. In the MLB, it could be up to 30, 40 games where you got, or at least, 30, 40 games where you circle, or 20, 25 games where you circle, and you're like, we've got to win these games. These games are so winnable. They're games that they're not that difficult opponents, right? Those are the games. And the Yankees right now have those opportunities. The Indians are a good team, but the Yankees took care of business. The Orioles are a team right there rebuilding. That's an opportunity to take 4 from them. And the Tigers, that's also another golden opportunity to take 3 from them. The Yankees obviously lost first game of the Orioles series, but we got the job done yesterday. So I think with the Yankees right now, it's trying to get on a roll. This 1 win, 2 win stuff, and then a loss isn't going to get us on a roll. We got to find a way to get on the roll. We saw it with the A's. They had a 12-game win streak. They started off the year 0-6, and now they're rolling right now. They're on a 12-game win streak. It got snapped, but that's what the Yankees need. The Yankees need to get on to a 5-6-game win streak and get this thing going. They need to. None of this 1-2-game win streak stuff and then lose 2 straight. And then win another one, then lose. We got to get on a consistent win streak. That's what the Yankees got to do. So we got the job done yesterday. Hopefully we can do it again today. That's obviously the goal. Rangers got a win yesterday. Nets got the win yesterday. So my teams yesterday went 3-0. I'm not going to sit here and complain. I could be picky about it and say, oh, the Yankees, should have beat the Orioles earlier. I could say that, the Rangers have got to play like this against the best teams. The Rangers, man, they're great at dominating the teams that they're supposed to dominate, but when they get to an opponent that's better than them, they really struggle. And the Rangers got the Islanders coming up tomorrow, and I circle that game tomorrow as a must-win game. If we win tomorrow, I think there is a great chance we get into the playoffs. If we lose tomorrow, it's going to be back to this same thing where we're just going to be trailing the rest of the way through. Tomorrow's a big game. It's pivotal. It might be one of the biggest games of the season. It's our home game, our final home game of this 5-game homestand. Then we head back to the Islanders to play again, I believe. So tomorrow's a golden opportunity. Win again home, and then before you go back on the road again. It's an awesome opportunity for the Rangers. And our schedule coming up is going to be tough. We got 6 games left. 2 of them against the Islanders, 2 against the Capitals, 2 against the Bruins. It doesn't get much harder than that out there. You're talking about 2 of arguably some of the best teams in the NHL, and then the Bruins, who right now, as we stand, are in the playoffs. So Rangers got to find a way to pull through here. At least beat the Islanders tomorrow. If we beat the Islanders tomorrow and we go into that Islanders game on Saturday 2 points out of the Bruins, I would feel very confident about the way this Rangers team is going. I would. Because then we have 2 against the Capitals, and then we go in Boston, 2 in Boston to finish out the year. There's only 6 games left this season in the hockey. It's crazy, I know. 56-game season went so quick. There's only 6 games left. We got to make these final 6 games count. So, we'll see how it all plays out. But let's get into these topics for today. As you can see, I got my Nets shirt on. Yes, the Nets won, and they clinched the playoffs. Just wanted to make that clear. First Eastern Conference team in the NBA to clinch, first Eastern Conference team in the Eastern Conference to clinch a playoff spot. So, the Brooklyn Nets doing what we all expected them to do. They're 42-20 right now. We got 10 games remaining. They're currently the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and we clinched a playoff spot. So right now, Brooklyn Nets, everything's going good over there. So these are topics for today's podcast. We got, like I said, the news, rumors, stuff are starting to really blow up here. We're going to see all throughout today, into the night, and all throughout the tomorrow about teams. What are they going to do with trades and trading back and doing all that stuff? We're going to see all that stuff tomorrow and today. And the Giants right now are actually looking like the Giants might trade up in the draft. So we thought they were going to trade back, and now the Giants are actually kind of wanting to trade maybe up and get Penei Sewell. Them and the Chargers are very linked to trying to trade the number 8 overall, to trying to get up to the number 8 overall pick. So the Carolina Panthers right now have the number 8 pick. Now the Patriots have reportedly called up, the Giants have reportedly asked, and the Chargers also. So there's about 3 teams. There might be others that have not been named yet, but there's been about 3 teams for sure that have been looking to try to trade up with the Carolina Panthers, and the Giants are one of them. I'll tell you what I think of this, because this is one of these things where a fan base would be split on the move, I really feel like. So we'll get into that. Then we'll get into Mike Tauchman trade. Yes, the Yankees have decided to trade Mike Tauchman, outfielder. Obviously, the Yankees just thought it was, the best decision for the team. I'll get into that. Kind of an interesting move. Kind of one of those moves where you kind of sit here and you kind of just think, what was it all about? It was one of the smaller moves, but the Yankees have decided to trade Mike Tauchman, so we'll get into that. Then we'll finish off with the New York Sports Update. The Nets have a day off. Rangers have a day off. Yankees play today. So obviously a great opportunity for the Yankees to try to get another win. And then we'll get to 11-13. And then you're slowly making baby steps to try to get back to playing like the New York Yankees we all expect. So that's what's on top. Knicks also play tonight against the Bulls. Big game tonight for the Knicks, I really believe. This is their final game of the road homestand. If they win tonight, they will go on to, they get on this road trip. And then they got the West Coast road trip coming up where they got some really tough opponents. So a big game tonight for the Knicks. I know it's the Bulls. I know it's a team that, the Bulls are struggling and probably won't make the playoffs. I get that. They do have a talented roster. It's just going to take a little bit of time to, really, start to grow together and really, build chemistry with each other. They have a talented roster, the Bulls do. But the big thing with the Knicks here is the Knicks right now, they're a 4 seed. So if the Knicks want to hold that and play the Hawks first round, as of right now, tonight's big. Because then your road trip coming up, you got teams like the Nuggets, Lakers, all of them coming up. And you're going to probably get the Lakers too with LeBron, and then obviously AD's already came back. So you're going to get a lot of good teams out on that West Coast trip. You got the Suns, who you lost to obviously the other day. And the Suns, let alone that, was also coming off of a loss to the Nets. So the Suns were on a second half of back-to-back, which you always hope that you can get teams on a second half of back-to-back sometimes, because back-to-backs aren't easy. It's a lot. It takes a toll on your body after a while. And I thought that was interesting. The Nets have 10 games left in the season. We have 3 back-to-backs. So 6 of our next 10 games are going to be back-to-back, because you're going to have 2 games, 2 games, 2 games. So that's going to be big to see how Steve Nash manages that on who he plays. Do you go full in for the 1 seed, or you go for the rest and just getting the guys ready for the playoffs? We got to make that decision. So we'll see how it all plays out. As the NHL and NBA winds down, this is really when it gets exciting. And like I said, I'm hoping that my Rangers and the Nets have already clinched the playoff spot, so I don't have to worry about them not making the playoffs. But I do hope my Rangers get in. I do hope that. They're one of those teams on the outside looking in right now. We're 4 points out of a playoff spot. I mean, it's just so close. It really is. 6 games to go. Big games coming up. So, with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So 2020 NFL Draft rumors. Penei Sewell's floor seen as number 8 overall pick. Giants are linked to that. So, the New York Giants, as I've talked about, and I first want to make this clear. I decided to talk about the Giants today because it's just New York football team, obviously. I've talked a lot about the Jets draft, and I've focused on the Giants, but I feel like the Giants, there's so much there's so many questions, you don't even really know where to start with the New York Giants. So there's been a lot of stuff going around in the draft. The 49ers have decided who they're going to draft. It's either Mac Jones or Trey Lance. 2 days ago, the organization was split on Trey Lance and Mac Jones. They have made their decision. They did not make it public, but they have made their decision. So we'll find out tomorrow what they do with that number 3 overall pick. Now, the Patriots have also talked to the Panthers about trading up, because the Patriots are now very interested in drafting Justin Fields, who many think might actually fall a little bit now. So there's been so much stuff going on within the NFL draft. But I really wanted to focus on this. And I always talk about this, right? There's questions around a team or a team, right? There could be questions. And then there's questions that the entire league wants to know. And to be honest, the New York Giants, right? The New York Jets, there's no question about it. They're going to draft Zach Wilson. They're going to draft a quarterback number 2 overall. There's no question about it. I don't even think you could sit here and try to debate otherwise. Same thing here with Penei Sewell. Or I'm going to say, but difference here, or same thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I meant to say, sorry. They're going to draft Trevor Lawrence. There's no question about it. But then as you get to the later picks, where you get to the 10th, even 8th, 9th overall picks, that's when it gets really interesting. Because you're still in the top 10. You still got a ton of talent. But at the same time, do you want to settle on a guy at the 8th overall pick, or do you want to trade back and maybe get more picks because you're not totally sold on the guy? That's the situation I feel like the New York Giants are in. And that's why, I don't know, I have this feeling. And maybe I'm wrong. And when I go to make my mock draft today, although I've already kind of brainstormed and kind of already started, I haven't officially put it down yet, but I've got a couple picks already down pat. But when I start my mock draft, really, putting it down on paper and really, doing that, I don't know quite what I'm going to do with the Giants yet. Now, 50% of me says that, part of me says that they're going to trade. Now, if they're going to trade, I think it's going to be back. As much as they say they might trade up now, I don't think they're trading up. I think they're going to trade back and get more picks. But then the other part of me says that they're sold on a receiver. Is that whether that's Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith? I don't know. And then there's another part of me that says they might just completely blow us all off and draft like an edge rusher. So the Giants right now are in such an interesting situation, because it's not just a big question around New York football and New York sports, but it's a big question around the league. What in the world are the New York Giants going to do? The 11th overall pick, it's such a weird situation because the Giants still have needs. Yes, they went out and got Kenny Golladay. I got to say his name right. So, they went out and got Golladay, right? Yes, I understand that. But at the same time, you could still go out and get a receiver. Because right now, as it stands, they got Galladay, Slayton. You did lose Tate, obviously, in the offseason. Then you have, then you got Sterling Shepard and guys like that. And, your tight ends right now are in a little bit of a weird situation. You got Mason, not Mason. You got Kyle Rudolph, and then you got Evan Ingram, who Evan Ingram isn't trustable. Kyle Rudolph is a veteran, trustable. I don't know if he's your future, though. He's not your future. He's only there for, I think 1 year deal. So your tight end situation is interesting. But Kyle Pitts isn't going to land to you, and 11th overall is too high to draft a guy like a Pat Freiermuth from Penn State, who obviously got injured and now is, now its stock really dropped. So that's why the Giants are in a situation. Now, if I'm the Giants here, and you're at the number 11th pick, and let's just say, they say the Giants are now on the clock. You have the opportunity. You have the opportunity now to either get Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, or trade back. If Devontae Smith is there, I still believe Devontae Smith is probably the best receiver in the draft. I still believe that. And the reason I do is because he had a great year last year. And to be honest, everyone's only being critical of him is because of his size. There's so many receivers out there that aren't big that have made a living in the NFL. And I get it, size is big and all in the receiver, but he's shown that he can catch one-on-ones. He's shown that he can absolutely toast the guy at cornerback. He's shown his speed. Right? Not every receiver has to be 6'6", 230 and have to be, Calvin Johnson built. No one has to be that big. There's so many receivers out there that are relatively smaller. I can name a couple. Guy in the Jets like James Crowder. He's smaller. He's made a living in the NFL. Cole Beasley. There's many small guys out there that are a receiver. Rondell Moore, who's in the draft this year, isn't that big. Now he's more stockier and built up. Devontae Smith is more, I would say, more thin. He's only 170. He's only 175 pounds and like 6 foot. So he's really small. And he's thin. But he's quick. He's a good pass catcher. He's really, he's a level-headed guy. He's very, he plays the game, the right way. There's so much stuff that's good about him. He learned under some great coaches in Alabama, and I think he would be the great deal. Now, Jalen Waddle, he's very good and he's very quick and all that stuff, and he's got all that stuff, but he did have an ankle injury. And he had a little bit of a shortened year this year. So do you go off of Jalen Waddle a couple years ago, Jalen Waddle's pro day, Jalen Waddle this year where you got a really small sample size? I feel like the safest bet would just to go on Devontae Smith. I feel like he's the safest receiver out there, meaning you're not taking that big of a gamble for. We saw him this year. We saw him what he can do. We saw that. Jalen Waddle, we've seen bits and pieces. He's on the field, he's off. We saw him in his pro day, but then he's played a season before. We've seen bits and pieces of him. You don't really know quite what you're getting out of him. Now, if someone gets Jalen Waddle with the 20th overall pick, that would be an absolute steal. I just don't know if you got to draft a guy like Jalen Waddle with the 11th overall pick. Jalen Waddle is very good. I would take Devontae Smith. But then this is the interesting part. Is what if the Giants do trade up and take Penei Sewell? I was talking to someone I know is a Giants fan. They don't like it. They wouldn't want it. They would not want them to trade up. They would hate it if they traded up in the draft to get Penei Sewell. Now, if, now, part of the Giants, I feel like, because when this report came out, I looked on to see, you go online, you see Adam Schefter when he posted it, you look at all the comments and stuff. A lot of Giants fans didn't like it. Now, there was other Giants fans that liked it. I feel like the Giants fans are kind of like split on this deal too. It's one of these things where no matter what you do, and this is kind of in sports, no matter what you do, there's going to be someone that's going to be unhappy. That's just how it is. That's in life too. But that's definitely in sports. You see it with organizations. No matter what a team does, there's always going to be one fan out there that's not going to like it. You're never going to get everyone to be on your side. Same thing here with Penei. Same thing here with the Giants. You might get some fans that like it, but you're also going to get a lot of fans that don't like it. And here's the thing with the Giants. Penei Sewell's very good. He is very good. I think he's going to be a great guy in this league. When it looked like the Jets were going to hang on to Sam Darnold, I wanted the Jets to take Sewell with the second pick. Now, all along, I wanted Zach Wilson. But when it seemed like, but I said, if we're going to keep Darnold, that second pick better not be a receiver. I want Penei Sewell. Sure enough, we traded Darnold. Now it's full on Zach Wilson. Now, I wanted Zach Wilson all along as a Jet fan, but I said, if we were to keep Darnold, I want Penei Sewell with that number 2 overall pick. I don't want a receiver. I want Penei Sewell because we need protection up front. I think Penei Sewell is going to be a stud in the NFL. I really do. He's almost at non-human at times with some of the blocks he makes. If you got to see him. He didn't play last season. He played the year before. But look at the year before what he did. I mean, the guy is, first of all, he's huge. And I mean that in a good way. I mean, he's an offensive line. He's built like an offensive lineman. Second of all, he's quick. He's just very good. And there's not much else I got to say about him. So you're going to get a lot for him. But if this deal doesn't work out, you're going to look back now in 3 years now and say, hey, what if we don't do that? Right? You're going to do that. And that's the thing with the Giants. You're taking a risk trading up to get a guy when you could just stay stable in your position and trade back to get more picks. That could be, that could be an interesting, that could be, that could be an interesting situation, right? And I think that might be an interesting situation if you go out and draft him. But right now, if I'm the New York Giants, you're a day away from the NFL draft. I would see how this thing plays out. See what happens in front of you. You know, if you start to hear rumblings that maybe, I don't know, teams aren't as high on this player as they were, you start to maybe feel confident that I'm going to say this. If Devontae Smith falls to the Giants and they haven't traded their pick yet, they should take Devontae Smith. I'm going to leave it at that. If Devontae Smith gets picked and the Giants have their pick, it's up to the Giants. If they draft Jalen Waddle, I think that would be a fine pick. If they decide to draft an edge rusher, I think that would be a fine pick. If they decide to trade back, all that stuff's fine with me. But if Devontae Smith falls to the Giants, I would disagree if they trade back. I think they should go after Devontae Smith if he falls to the New York Giants. Now, if Devontae Smith gets picked, I don't know. I don't even know if the Panthers are looking at it. Let's just say the Panthers, for example, draft Devontae Smith. Not saying it's going to happen. I'm just naming a random team. And you get to that 11th pick, and Jalen Waddle's there, or you could decide to trade back. That's up to the Giants. I would be okay with either. But if the Giants pass up on Devontae Smith and either trade back or draft another receiver, I'm going to come onto the air and I'm going to say I don't think it's a great. Would not say it's a great move. Now, is it a bad move? No, but Devontae Smith I still think is going to be an excellent player in the league. That's how I see it. This is people don't realize this too. All of a sudden now his size is an issue. A month ago, before the Jets traded Darnold, there was some people that said if the Jets don't trade Darnold, they're going to take Devontae Smith with the second overall pick. Now there's people that say Devontae Smith might not even get picked in the top 15. Like, what's going on here? This is almost like the CeeDee Lamb thing last season. Some people thought he was going to be their first receiver off the board. He was eventually, the 17th overall pick, I think? And that's what makes the draft fun, is you get to see these guys that you might have thought thought for sure he was going to get picked here, and then they just don't even get, they don't get picked there. They don't get picked anywhere near it. But it's just like, I like Devontae Smith a lot, but all these teams are going to pass up on him that are needy receivers teams. Now, the Jets are obviously not going to pick him, but that's because the Jets need a quarterback. But all these teams out there that don't need a quarterback and need a receiver, and if they're going to pass up on him, I really believe they're going to regret it. Because I really believe this is going to be a guy we're going to be looking back on in 2-3 years here, talking about how this guy fell this deep in the draft. That's how I see it, if that is the case. I think if the Giants look at this, the Giants could possibly be getting a really good receiver at number 11. A guy who some people thought might have went second right when the season was done. When the season was done and people were just making all these different mock drafts, some people had Devontae Smith going really early. Then Jamar Chase rose, Jalen Waddle, Rashad Bateman, got Rondale Moore, guys like that who are very good receivers, but not as good as Devontae Smith. But we'll see. The Giants still questionable. And I'll just lay some names out here, then I'll get into this article. Some of the guys here that the Giants could be looking at. Micah Parsons, Gregory Rousseau, trading back. That's not a player, but trading back. Trading up. Penei Sewell, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. you're going to be looking at 7-8 options the Giants could do with one pick. And this is a big pick, I really feel like, for the New York Giants and Dave Gettleman. I think this draft is big for Dave Gettleman. And just depending on his job. I think it's a big draft, too, for both the New York football GMs. I think it's a big draft for Joe Douglas. I think it's a big draft for Dave Gettleman. They got to nail it, I think. I think Joe Douglas has got to nail it because we finally got our coach. We finally got the coaching staff. We just need to bring in the talent and skill now. And Dave Gettleman, they've got their receivers. They got him a weapon. They're getting Barkley back. They're a part or two away from, they're possibly, if he drafts the right way, this team could definitely make a big improvement. He hasn't drafted well at all these past couple years. So, it's a big draft, too, for Dave Gettleman. So, it's a big decision to be made, but we'll see how it all goes. So 2021 NFL Draft rumors, Penei Sewell's floor seen as number 8 overall pick, Giants linked. The floor for Oregon's offensive tackle Penei Sewell in the 2021 NFL Draft is reportedly the number 8 pick who is currently held by the Carolina Panthers, and he could become a trade-up target if he slides past the Cincinnati Bengals on number 5 on Thursday night. Now, I would probably go ahead and... I don't think the Giants will probably take Sewell. This is just possible. I think the Bengals will probably take Sewell, honestly, although the Bengals did say that they're very interested in Jamar Chase. But at the same time, I think it's better for Burrow to take Sewell. That's how I see it. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano reported Wednesday the New York Giants, who own the number 11 selection, have done a ton of legwork on Sewell, and the Los Angeles Chargers, who select 13th, are two candidates to move up in the standout if the standout lineman is still available in the latter stages of the top 10. Sewell could become one of the turning points in the opening round as one of the first players off the board following the initial run on quarterbacks. The 20-year-old American Samoa native, the best offensive lineman in college football in 2019, winning the Outland Trophy and being named a consensus All-American. He opted out of 2020 season amid the coronavirus pandemic, but that hasn't impacted his status as a top pro prospect. We saw him obviously in 2019 be dominant. Obviously last season he didn't play, but we saw him as pro day. He was also dominant. Sewell possesses a 6'5", 331-pound frame with a terrific initial burst and advanced footwork. Like I said, he's big and strong. He's big. He's 6'5", 331 pounds. He's a guy, sometimes those guys might be relatively not as quick, but he's very quick on and off the line. He doesn't get beat very often at all. But he told CBS Sports Jordan that his football IQ is the best attribute. He said this: the knowledge of the game, to be honest, I think my understanding of different angles to get the job done and how I can really observe defensive schemes, how they disguise a look, and how they are going to bring it and the overall game. I feel like I'm a student of the game because of my passion behind it. I really love coming in each day, putting the work, and also on my own time, I love to watch football, whether that's watching film and breaking down a certain defender or just enjoying a game on TV. So I think that sets me apart from everybody else, how I observe the game and how my knowledge of the game improves every time. That's what Sewell said, just about, if he's his football IQ and when he was doing an interview. So no player probably understands that better than Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert, who played alongside Sewell in 2019 before winning NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year honors in 2020. The connection makes it no surprise that LA could be in the market to trade up to land long-term blindside protection for its franchise signal caller. Meanwhile, the Giants are still working to determine whether Daniel Jones is their answer under center, but upgrading the line with Sewell would help the evaluation process by improving his protection after he was sacked 45 times in 14 games last year. Whether it's the Bengals, Chargers, Giants, or another team, Sewell should be a Week 1 starter and has the physical tools to anchor an offensive line for the next decade. So it's the truth. I mean, there's no denying it. This guy is NFL ready. This guy is NFL written all over him. This guy has helping out a team, being quick off the line. This guy has being a dominant offensive lineman written all over him. But with the New York Giants, it's, are you going to really trade up or do you feel fine where you're at? And also, there's a lot of good guys out there too. A lot of good other offensive linemen out there. Really good offensive linemen out there. Creed Humphrey, Landon Dickerson. There's so many good offensive linemen out there that could be available in the second, late first round, and that's what the Giants could look to target. But the Giants only have 6 picks, so they got to make him useful. The Jets, for example, they have 10. So the Giants, they've got 6 picks. These are going to be 6 pivotal picks coming up. Now, they could have more depending if they trade back. Let's say they trade back and get, I don't know, that team's first and maybe a second. They knew would have about 7. But still, big opportunity for the New York Giants to try to get this team back to its winning ways. Obviously, winning a Super Bowl, back in, the days with Eli and all that, beating Brady and stuff. Giants are trying to do that. And whatever, this draft is big for that. Gathering young talent and trying to finish off what was a pretty solid offseason. What was a good offseason for the Giants. The Giants had a good offseason. You got guys like Kenny Golladay, and you got re-signed Leonard Williams, and now whatever you do in the draft, right? I think they could really cap it off by drafting the right guy. That's how I see it. But we'll see how it all plays out. Now, if you're going to ask me, are they going to trade up? I don't think so, because first of all, I think the Bengals are going to take Sewell. But if the Bengals don't take Sewell, I could see it happening. Now, that does lead up a situation of the Panthers. The Panthers got to decide. If the Chargers want him and the Giants want him, and then you got the Patriots that want to trade with the Panthers for a completely different reason to try to get into Justin Fields, the Panthers are going to have to make a decision. So, we'll see how it all plays out. But with that being said, coming up next, we got Mike Tauchman traded. The Yankees have traded Mike Tauchman, outfielder, not everyday guy, but, an outfielder, has been with the team, kind of, in a way, I guess, a utility guy. He's played multiple positions in the outfield. He can bat. He was a hitter, obviously. I think he even, at times, I don't think he ever played first base in a game, but I do think he did take some first base reps in practice and stuff. So it's a guy, I guess you can kind of call him like a utility outfielder. You plop him in center, he'll do it. He'll plop him in left or right, he'll do it. The Yankees have traded him for a pitcher and a player to be named later. I'll talk about this deal coming up next. Alrighty, so Yankees rumors: Mike Tauchman traded to Giants for right-handed pitcher Wandy Peralta. So yes, you heard that right. The New York Yankees have officially decided to trade outfielder. You really can't even call him right fielder, left fielder, or center fielder because he's played all of those positions before. He's had experience at 90%, pretty much all. He's had experience at all positions there. So a guy that the Yankees really used as not really an everyday player, but used as a guy of a fill-in, a guy who would come in when a guy was injured. And let me tell you, the Yankees have needed a lot of those throughout the years. And this is one of those guys that, kind of I don't really want to call him a utility man because a utility guy can play multiple positions. This is a guy that really only played in the outfield. Utility guys can kind of play, second. They can play first. They can play short. They can play outfield. Utility guys can play all over the place. And that's where actually utility guys come in pretty big. I guess, not saying the Yankees have one of these, but the Yankees kind of have a guy in LeMahieu. He's not a utility guy. He's a second baseman, but LeMahieu can play first. He has played, I think third this season. He's played second, obviously. So, a guy, too, who can do some maneuvering and move around the infield a little bit there. And Tauchman was kind of that kind of guy. He was that guy that, was able to move around the outfield. You put him out there, he would play hard. He'd go out there. He played hard. That's one of the things I got to say with Mike Tauchman that is really, really big. And I like that out of guys. He played with a lot of energy. He knew he was one of those guys that, he knew that, he's not always going to be he's not always going to be playing every single day. He might play twice every 2 weeks, and when he's out there, he tried his best to put up numbers, and that's how I really see it as Mike Tauchman, and I want to thank him for that, because there's a lot of guys out there that when they strike out, they seem like they don't care. He was a guy that, he went up at bat, he played with a lot of energy, he would battle in at-bats, he wouldn't swing at the junk, he would do a lot of that kind of stuff, and that's something I liked about him. He was a guy that knew his roster spot on this team wasn't fully guaranteed. He knew that there was a chance that he might get traded, or he might only play once or twice every week or two, or come in and pinch hit at any time in the game. That's one thing too. He stayed ready. So, kind of to give you a little bit of timeline on Mike Tauchman, though, and I think this is kind of the reason the Yankees have eventually decided to just move on from him, trade him to San Francisco. And let me tell you, San Francisco, could use an outfielder right now. Definitely he's going to see playing time in San Francisco. I definitely think he'll see more playing time in San Francisco. But to kind of see how this the Mike Tauchman kind of played out here with the Yankees, in 2019 he had a very good year. Very good season. I mean, you're talking about a guy that, got some extended time, played really well when he was out there, just was he was a really good player. And obviously a guy who, had he was showing some really good power. That was the year where we had a lot of the injuries and stuff, and you were kind of sitting there thinking like, wow, this is a guy that, very well maybe soon he could eventually end up as an everyday outfielder with some other team. And he goes into the offseason, people are like, wow, Tauchman had a great year and all that stuff. He comes into the 2020 season, last year, the shortened 60-game season, and let me tell you, not many players played well last season, but he really struggled. He did not have a good year, just did not have a good year at the plate. There's not much else I got to say. I'm not going to say, oh, he did this, and this. He just did not have a good year hitting, and he got his opportunities in the outfield and stuff like that, but all in all, he just didn't have a good year hitting the baseball, and we saw that a lot last year with Mike Tauchman. And then you get into this season. And this season, we're only 23 games in, and he didn't play that much. He played 7-8 games, 9 games. And he had the nice double against Cleveland and kind of stuff like that, but it came to be that the Yankees have decided to trade him. So, a guy who I think the Yankees really kind of saw a little bit of a decrease. He was good when he first came up. He looked really good. Then 2019, he was like, oh my gosh, like this guy, when he was in, he was playing really well. If he needed to come and pinch hit, it was almost like he was always ready, or he was like automatic. You felt confident when he was up at the plate. Last season, you were hoping to see the same. He struggled. As a fan, as someone that may try to, if you're trying to be optimistic about the situation, you got to kind of sit there and say, hey, I mean, it was a 60-game season. Hopefully that was just, hopefully it was just the fact that he struggled. And then you get into this year, and it kind of like he got lost in the mix. He came up. He was still trying to battle for his roster spot. And not that there was any public friction between him and the Yankees. But I feel like deep down inside, I think Tauchman wanted to be in another team. And I get it, playing for the Yankees is great. I get that. It was awesome. I mean, playing for the New York Yankees would be awesome. Right? I get that. But I feel like in his case, he wanted to go someplace that I think truly wanted him, and a place that he would truly get the opportunity to play. And with the Yankees, with Frazier, with Gardner, with Hicks, with Judge, with all those guys out there in the outfield, like Tauchman was kind of the lone guy out because they had Gardner really filling in when another player wouldn't be in. So that's kind of how it is. It was Gardner, Tauchman, and Frazier kind of split. Now it was Gardner, Frazier, Hicks, Judge, all those guys, and Tauchman kind of got lost in the mix in a way. That's how I kind of saw it. And this was kind of one of these situations where the Yankees were like, you know what? Like, it's kind of best for both parties. Like, the Yankees really weren't using him to his fullest, and this is a guy who has a lot of talent that could go somewhere else and, play well. So we traded the Giants, and the Giants are in need of some outfield help right now with some of the stuff they're dealing with there. With some of the stuff there. So we just got news here coming in. Teddy Bridgewater has gotten traded to the Broncos. So this just came in now. So the Broncos are trading quarterback Teddy Bridgewater to the Broncos for a 6th-round pick. 6th-round pick. So 6th-round pick. So that's really, really not a great pick. 6th-round pick. I thought for sure it'd maybe be something else. But anyway, back to my Tauchman point. It was only for a 6th-round pick. So, yeah, that's an interesting move there to see 6th-round pick. I mean, I thought Teddy might have been worth a little bit more than a 6. But anyway, back to my point with Tauchman. So Tauchman, I mean, they're getting a guy that, they're getting a guy that's going to go out there and play hard. And that's what the Giants are getting. Now, with the Giants, with us getting Wandy Peralta, sorry, I'm just going over the trade. Okay, so with the Giants getting Wandy Peralta, or the Jets getting, or not the Jets, oh my gosh, the Yankees getting Wandy Peralta. He's a pitcher. He's a guy that has played. He's a veteran. He's been in the league, I believe, for 7 years now. So we're getting a guy that's going to go out there, give you some depth, and that's kind of how it is. And like I said, so left-handed pitcher Wandy Peralta. My bad sorry if I said earlier right-handed pitcher Wandy Peralta. He's a left-handed pitcher. He's a relief pitcher for the Yankees. So for the Yankees. So with Wandy Peralta, I feel like it's one of these things where you get a lefty. He's a depth addition. In the bullpen, kind of a guy that's going to be the back end of the bullpen, give you a little bit of depth. And the Yankees, although their bullpen's been very good this year, and I can't sit here and complain, Wandy Peralta, Nick Nelson for the Yankees this season has struggled. We actually optioned him to the alternate site. So I feel like in a way, after that move was made, the Yankees kind of felt like we had to go out there and get a guy that was needed. And Wandy Peralta hopefully fills that kind of little bit of a hole there. Is this anything that's going to boost us that much? I don't think so. But a guy that's going to come to the team and hopefully make a little bit of an impact and give us some depth. And I think that kind of secures the fact that Nick Nelson might be in the alternate site for a long time here. Because I feel like after his tough starts there, we optioned him. And now we got Wandy Peralta, which kind of slides right into where he was. So the back of the bullpen now is, I guess, kind of set in a way. And like I said, 50-50 about the Yankees fans are kind of split on this deal. I feel like 50% of them, believe that this is a good move, and then you got about 50% of them that don't care, don't really have much feeling on, and that's kind of me. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm kind of in the middle of the 50-50. Like, I'm kind of one of those guys that I could see how it's like a weird move. I could see that, but I could also see it how, we did need a guy that, could help the back of the bullpen, and Tauchman was kind of a guy that we weren't using much. So I could see it kind of 50-50 there. But let's just get into this. So Yankees rumors: Mike Tauchman traded the Giants for relief pitcher Wandy Peralta, and obviously, like I said, it makes sense for the Giants, or the Yankees, and the Giants. I feel like it's a win-win because the Yankees get a guy that adds to the back end of the bullpen, and I feel like too the Giants get a guy because Mike Yastrzemski just went on to the IL, and they could use some outfield help now that they've got some guys that are injured. So I feel like that's how I kind of see it. The New York Yankees traded outfielder Mike Tauchman to the San Francisco Giants for reliever Wandy Peralta and a player to be named later, the club announced Tuesday. So this is the official tweet from the Yankees. The New York Yankees announced today that they have acquired left-handed pitcher Wandy Peralta and a player to be named later from the San Francisco Giants in exchange for outfielder Mike Tauchman. And then also prior to tonight's game, the Yankees recalled infield outfielder Tyler Wade. This was from yesterday, though. In a corresponding move, utility man Tyler Wade has been recalled to the Yankees from the team's alternate site. Tauchman had been a valuable depth piece for the Yankees in recent years, especially as injuries continue to mount in 2019 and 2020, but was off to a slow start in 2021 with manager Aaron Boone unable to give him consistent playing time. The 30-year-old is slashing .214, .267, and .286 with one extra base hit and 16 plate appearances entering Tuesday, with Aaron Judge, Clint Frazier, Aaron Hicks, Giancarlo Stanton, and Brett Gardner all capable of playing in the outfield. Tauchman became a bit of an odd man out, like I mentioned earlier. Instead, Tauchman goes to San Francisco for Peralta, a left-handed reliever who primarily uses a fastball-slider combination to attack hitters. The 29-year-old has thrown 8 1/3 innings this season with a 5.40 ERA, 1.68 WHIP, 8 strikeouts, and 2 saves. He should help the Yankees bullpen set up for closer Aroldis Chapman while providing Boone with a mismatch option in relief. New York 9-13, now 10-13, will now carry 5 lefties out of the pen as it attempts to get its season back on track after an abysmal April. The Giants, meanwhile, add Talkman to his center field with Lamonte Wade Jr. on the 10-day injury list and Mike Yastrzemski considered day-to-day. So, obviously, the Yankees get a guy that hopefully, can provide us some mismatch, a lefty, a bullpen depth, and the Giants get a guy that provides also, a depth addition and also kind of this side. So, you'll see. But, I think it's one of these moves where it's kind of just, a low addition. We got a flyer for, Wandy Peralta, and it's one of those it's just one of those things where it's just, a small move here and there, making some roster stuff. That's how I see it. So, anyway, coming up next here, we're going to get into the New York Sports Update here to close out the podcast. Alrighty, so let's get up here. Alrighty, so let's get up the NBA and New York Sports Update here. Alrighty, so in the NBA yesterday, the Magic won, Mavericks won, Timberwolves won, Rockets won, Thunder won, Bucks won, let's see here, Trailblazers won. So I want to point something out, in the Nets won yesterday. So let me point something out. And I've seen this happen a couple of times where it's been close. Every road team yesterday won. Mavericks won, Timberwolves won, Thunder won, Bucks won, Trailblazers won. And the Nets also won yesterday, 116-103. And we moved to 42-20 on the season. So all the road teams yesterday won. So you talk about home field advantage. That wasn't the case yesterday. It wasn't the case. As for today's games, we got the 76ers, Hawks. I'll give 76ers a win. Cavaliers, Mavericks, give Magic, give Cavaliers the win. Knicks, Bulls, give Knicks the win. Celtics, Hornets, give Celtics the win. Lakers, Wizards, give Lakers the win. Heat, Spurs, give Heat the win. Nuggets, Pelicans, give Nuggets the win. Grizzlies, Trailblazers, give Grizzlies the win. Suns, Clippers, give Suns the win. Jazz, Kings, give Jazz the win. As for the NHL, yesterday the Hurricanes won, Panthers won, Lightning won, Devils won, Blue Jackets won, Capitals won, and Bruins won. Rangers also won yesterday 3-1. We moved to 26-18-6 on the season. Another big win for the Rangers. As for today, we got the Senators and Canucks. I'll give Senators the win. Wild, Blues give Wild the win. Maple Leafs, Canadians give Maple Leafs the win. Jets, Oilers give Oilers the win. Golden Knights, Avalanche give Golden Knights the win. Kings, Ducks give Kings the win. Coyotes, Sharks give Coyotes the win. As for the MLB, yesterday the Reds won, Rockies won, Diamondbacks won, Tigers won, Brewers won, Rangers won, Astros won, Cardinals won, Rays won, Braves won, Blue Jays won, Indians won, and Pirates won. Red Sox beat the Mets, so the Mets fall to 9-9 on the season. And the Yankees won yesterday 5-1. And we moved to 10-13 on the season. It was a good win, but we got to try to get on a consistent win streak. As for today's games, we got the Twins, Indians. I'll give Twins the win. Marlins, Brewers. I'll give Brewers the win. Dodgers, Reds. Give Dodgers the win. Royals, Pirates. Give Royals the win. Mets, Red Sox. Give Mets the win. DeGrom's on the mound. Blue Jays, Nationals. Give Blue Jays the win. Rays, A's. Give Rays the win. Braves, Cubs. Give Braves the win. Phillies, Cardinals. Give Phillies the win. Angels, Rangers. Give Angels the win. Astros, Mariners. Give Astros the win. White Sox, Tigers. Give White Sox the win. Padres, Diamondbacks. Give Padres the win. And Giants, Rockies. I'll give Giants the win. As for today, the Yankees play today. Yankees come in this game 10-13. Orioles come in this game 10-13. Yankees got Herman on the mound and Kramer's on the mound for the Orioles. This game comes on today, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time in Mason. Yankees are 1.5-point favorites. 67% of people are going for the Yankees. I'll add on to that 67%, and I will say the Yankees win. Wonder if there's ever been a time where 100% of people will say they win. Any sport. Alrighty, so anyway. With that being said, let me make some fantasy moves here. Alrighty, so I'll put him there, and then I will move Manuel Margot All right, so let's get into this. So today in fantasy baseball, I'm currently losing 64-40. But today I've got going Yerman Mercedes, Matt Olson, Jake Cronenworth, Josh Donaldson, Carlos Correa, Jed Lowry, Alex Bregman, Whit Merrifield, Victor Robles, Dylan Carlson, Manuel Margot, Michael Taylor, and Jorge Soler. Josh Donaldson got a home run, so that's good. All right, and then we got Tyler Glasnow as well. We got Tyler Glasnow pitching. Alrighty, so as for fantasy basketball, I'm currently losing 1,950 to 1,714. Today I've got going Trae Young, Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler, Anthony Davis, Jonas Valanciunas, Buddy Hield, Kemba Walker, and Montrezl Harrell. Injury report is as followed. Hawks general manager Travis Schlenk said Tuesday that Young ankle could be ready to return to game action by the end of the week. Mike Conti of the Atlanta Hawks radio network reports. Anthony Davis calf is listed as probable for Wednesday's game against Washington. And then Kemba Walker's out. Coach Brad Stevens said Walker's side won't play Tuesday against the Thunder or Wednesday against the Hornets. John Carlos of BostonSportsJournal.com reports. So that's that. And as for fantasy hockey, I'm currently winning 54-51. And today I've got going Anzes Kopitar, Braden Shen, Brock Beausier, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, David Perron, Jeff Petrie, Shea Weber, Adam Larson, Jacob Kitrin, Justin Falk, Shea Theodore, and Cam Talbot in goal. As for Sammy Varlamov, he was out. Varlamov undisclosed, won't dress for Tuesday's game in Washington. Stefan Wino of the Associated Press reports. So he didn't play yesterday. Hopefully he is okay because he's a key part of my team and a key part of the goaltending and overall key part to the team. So hopefully nothing big there. But we'll see how that also plays out. Look at this. Top 20 players in the MLB. This comes up here in my notes. This was for fantasy baseball. So you got Acuna, Betts, Tatis. Now, I wouldn't say Acuna's the best player. I'd say Trout. But this was from another site here. It's just all my papers here. So you got Trout at 5. Soto, it goes Acuna, Betts, Tatis, Soto, Trout, DeGrom, Trey Turner, Ramirez, Cole, Yelich, Story, Bieber, Freeman, Bellinger, Bauer, Lindor, Machado, Harper, Rendon, LeMahieu. So, this is one of these things where I had to fantasy baseball, and I needed to figure out who I was going to pick. Although I would probably go ahead and say that Trout. I could sit here all day and make this list so different. Like, Yelich right now is not a top 10 player because he's been injured right now, and he hasn't proven yet this season. He's good, but he's injured. I don't know if you can consider him to a guy that's played a lot. So, but anyway, with all that being said, that'll do it for the podcast here today. On that list, Trout's the best player in the league. But anyway, with all that being said, that'll do it for the podcast here today. Tomorrow is the big NFL draft podcast. I will be doing my mock draft and just previewing what the Jets and the Giants will do. So that's big. And, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.